Alright guys, for this video we're going to use this one numbers list, and we're going to talk about printing out more than, less than, and numbers that are in between certain values. So here we have a list, just a list of numbers here. They're not in any particular order. So the first thing we're going to do, let's just see what this list looks like printed out. So let's print numbers. There's our list of numbers. Now we want to print the numbers that are less than 50. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to create a loop. We want to do for numbers for x in numbers. Okay, so let's see what this does just to refresh your memory. What this is going to do is it's going to go up to the list in numbers, and it is going to print. It's going to take the first number and it's going to store it in X from the list of numbers, and it's going to print it out X. So let's run it, see what it does. And it's going to keep going. It's going to run through all the numbers and it's going to print them all out. So 17, 32, 51, 1. So what we have here is X in the list of numbers, and then it does something. Prints out the number. Okay. Now we want it to do something. We want to check and make sure that the number is less than 50. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an if statement. If x, which is this number right here, which happens to be storing each one of these values, it says if x is less than, so we're going to use the less than symbol. If x is less than the number 50, we're going to do something else, and we're going to print it out. So this part right here checks to see if the number is less than 50. What it does, goes up to the top, takes 17, puts it and stores it here, and then it goes to the next line. It checks to see is x less than 50. If it is, then it prints it out, and if it's not, it has nothing else to do, so it goes back up to the top and then takes the next number, which would be 32, puts it in for x, then it checks is 32 less than 50. If it is, then it prints it out, and it just keeps going just like we did the first time, just printing the numbers out, but this time it's going to check and see is the number less than 50. So let's run this. There it is right there. 17, 32, 1, 2, 8, 15, 42. So I'm going to do one thing to this. I'm going to add a number to this list. I'm going to add the number 50 so we know that the number 50 is in there. Let's run this again and see what happens. Do you see the number 50 at all? It did not appear. If we want to include the number 50, we can say equals to. So less than or equal to 50. Now when I run it again, it's going to get to this 50, and it's going to see is it less than or equal to 50, and it's going to be, so then it's going to print it out. I actually printed it out twice, so I must have already had a 50 in there somewhere in here. Oh, right there. There's a 50 already in there, so we have two 50s. Alright, so then now we want to print out the numbers that are more than 100. So what we're going to do is go for, and I'm going to change this first part just because I want to show y'all that it can be different. So for a in numbers, do something. We want to print, and let's print a. Let's print a. Alright, so it's going to go up to the top. It's going to take the first number. It's going to store it in A, and then it's going to print it. And then it's going to go back up to the top, take 32, store it in A, and then it's going to print it. So let's run it and see what it looks like. Now we can see we added a bunch of numbers to our list, but it's kind of confusing because we have all the numbers from the last list and then all the numbers from the new list. So let's make some type of divider here so we can see what's happening. Let's make a divider, and we can make any type of divider we want. Let's do percent signs. Let's see what that looks like. Run. Okay, so there's our little divider, and we know that this was our first list, and here's our second list. Alright, now our mission is to print the numbers that are more than 100. So just like we did up here on line 4, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do if, and then I'm using the letter A instead of X, just because I want to. If A is greater than 100, do something. And notice I checked my spacing here on this one, so we have one tab here that says that it's inside of this loop, or it's inside of this if statement, and this one here has one tab as well, so that means this is inside of the for loop. Out to the side we have these little minus signs. We can tell what's a part of what. Okay, so let's tab. So we put this with, if we don't put the spacing correctly, this will get printed out every single time, and this will get checked every single time, but nothing will happen. It'll just check it, and this is not actually inside of the if loop, and we might even get an error. Let's see if we do. Yeah, we'll get an error because there's nothing in here, so it goes to check and it finds something's correct, but it can't do anything. So let's put this inside of it, try again, and see what happens. We don't have very many numbers that are greater than 100, but we do have them, and there they are right there. So just simply adding the A is greater than 100 gives us the ability to print out numbers that are greater than 100 coming from the numbers list. Alright, let's do this last one. It's going to be very similar to this. I'm going to copy this basics part here, and we can use it. We'll use a different one this time just because we want to. Let's do Z. So now this says for Z in numbers, if Z is greater than 100, print it out. Okay, well, we want to make some changes. Print out the numbers that are less than 500 but more than 70. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this. So we need numbers that are less than 500 but more than 70. Okay, now we're still dealing with the letter Z, so we want the number to be less than 500, which means that the 500 is larger, so the alligator tries to eat the larger number, and then less than 70, so we want still eating the larger number, and our variable is Z, so let's put Z in here. So what this says, if 500 is larger than Z and less than 70, print it out. Well, look there. We don't really know if it worked because we can't tell. There's no division symbol there. So let's make another division up here. Print, and this time let's use dollar signs. Run. All right. So these numbers are less than 500, but more than 70. You notice something right here, guys? There's a lot of space here. It doesn't really matter how far apart they are. So you can put them all right next to each other and run it. It's still going to make the same results are still going to happen. A lot of times I like to put one space in there just so I can see what's happening. But there you go, advanced numbers list. Have a good day.